It's a fact. Perfectionism hurts us. And yet, we're still here swearing by its name that we need it. Hi, I'm Vassia, I'm a psychologist, perfectionism expert, and I'm here in order to unveil the truth behind perfectionism. We are going to focus on why perfectionism is so addictive. What's happening? Or logically, rationally, we know that it hurts us. It impacts negatively our mental health, our relationships, our focus, our physical health, even. And yet, we're still here and we are still thinking that it's helpful. So, why it's happening? Let me tell you that, as I said before, the mechanism behind it is purely emotional. Logically, we know that we don't need perfectionism or that it's damaging us, but we cannot change it. And that happens with all habits. Binge eating, for example, if you're binge eating at 11 o'clock in the evening, for example, logically, you know it. You're going to have a very upset stomach. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night and it doesn't help you at all. And yet we do it. So there's nothing logical. There's only an emotional, psychological reason behind it. And that reason is what I call gain. What is the gain? What am I gaining when I continue a habit like this and or a mindset like this, which is in our case perfectionism? What is the gain? Let's see why perfectionism is so addictive and what do we gain by continuously being perfectionists. So first of all, perfectionism, as we said, it's the mindset where we push ourselves even beyond our boundaries, even beyond our capacity to try more, to work more, to push for more, even though we don't have any energy left. What's the gain then in there? We believe that if we still have a perfectionism in our lives, we will become better people, we will succeed, we will become more important, we will become more influential, smarter, you name it. Every person has a different goal that wants to aim at, that wants to succeed through perfectionism. And we believe that if we drop perfectionism, which is the high standards, the very harsh self criticism, the eye for detail that we have, very detailed and very analytical mindset, if we drop that, then we're not going to succeed. Again, you can detect already the extreme mindset here. Either I'm going to fail or I'm going to succeed. There's nothing in between. So we think that if I drop perfectionism, then I'm going to stagnate. I'm going to be lazy. Who am I going to be? And that's the second game. Perfectionism gives us an identity. I'm the one that strives for excellence. I am the one that always pushes. I'm the one that never settles for less. If I'm going to be not a perfectionist, then who am I going to be? Where am I? What am I doing? How my day looks like? Perfectionism is defining our identity, and that's a gain. And it's not easy to drop it because that means I need to drop that identity and need to build another one. And that's huge. That's a huge project. How am I going to do that? And that's why in my course, How to Stop Perfectionism and Start Living, there is this holistic approach there because I know it's not about mindset, it's not about the way you work, it's your whole life changes in very tiny steps, in very tiny small mindset shifts towards a different lifestyle. I know that. And that's why it's scary because the gain is that I get to keep the identity I've had for decades. Why would I change that? And it's so difficult to change that. Another gain. What am I going to do now if I drop perfectionism and I am used in getting external validation through perfection? What am I going to do if I don't have the external validation? If I don't share every day different accomplishments and achievements, if I'm not the one who needs to have all the time accomplishment and achievements, then who am I? What am I going to do? Am I going to be invisible because I've learned to be visible? That's how I feel seen by other people when I try all the time, when I have a clean house and I can show it, when I have finished projects and I can show it, when my kids are really high achieving students and I can be proud of it, I can show it. If I don't have things to show all the time, that's the difference, all the time. And then I enjoy peace, I enjoy self care, I enjoy rest, which is not something that I can show to other people. How am I going to get my external validation? That's another gain. And that's why it's difficult to drop it. There's a void inside us when we drop perfectionism, the toxic perfectionism. There's a void inside us that we don't know what to do with it, with this void. How am I going to feel that I am accepted by other people? How other people will know that I'm succeeding if I don't show them every time that I see them? So that's a very strong addictive element in perfectionism, because it makes our brain ooze of these pleasure hormones. That's why we need it. Another gain, see, there's so many gains. That's why it's so difficult to drop it. Another gain is, how am I going to cope with failure? Because so far I was protecting kind of my life from failing or from making mistakes. I was so careful. I was so mindful, or at least I thought so. Now that I'm going to be more accepting and embracing my mistakes, what am I going to do with that? That's very confrontational. I need to face failure all the time, and I don't know. I don't know how to do that. And staying with a habit just because we don't know how to practice the other habit is again a gain, right? So the fact that I need to learn new skills is something that prevents me from stepping out of perfectionism. And I'm going to use that argument for two skills. One is, how am I going to cope with failure? And there's an overlap there as well. And how to practice self compassion. When I do this exercise with self compassion with people who are very high achievers and very severe cases of perfectionism, they always feel very uncomfortable. They always feel that I don't believe these words. This is very unfamiliar. This is very weird. And it makes perfect sense because perfectionism means inner critic. And somebody who is a very severe case of perfectionism, it means that their inner critic is very strong. We have been accustomed to hearing these harsh words. You're a failure, you're going to fail, you're not as important, you're not as smart. Look at you. Why haven't you tried harder? Why can't you do more? Push more. We're very familiar with this. But when we listen to the other message, the message of self-compassion that says, I know you've tried really hard, and it's okay if you take a break, because I know that your self-worth is not defined by your achievements and results. It's okay. You can take a break and still be smart, important, successful. That feels very weird. I know. It's feeling comfortable when they hear these words. So then again, the gain is that, why do I need to learn to feel comfortable with something I don't need to feel comfortable? I'm good with the other scenario, with the other script, right? So that's the gain. That's why it's so addictive, because it means that I need to change, and it feels scary to drop it. Who am I going to be? Am I going to fail more? What if I stagnate and become lazy and don't succeed anymore? It's scary to think that I am going to drop perfectionism and my life will be better than before. It's very scary. Nobody believes that, right? So I know that I've worked with many perfectionists. I know how hard it is. And I also know that when you overcome this threshold of not believing that your life will be better, and you actually see it, you cannot go back. Trust me, you cannot go back, because you've seen that the internal satisfaction, pride, rest, peace that you have is not comparable with anything else. Plus, you can be more successful than before. That's the gift that I saved for the last part. Yes, when you turn to the healthy perfectionism, you can be even more successful than before and happy with what you have achieved, which is something that the toxic perfectionist doesn't really feel, because they don't allow themselves to celebrate and to feel joy, and they're only focusing on what they haven't achieved so far instead of what they have achieved so far. So you know what is the gain now? That's the word. That's the word that you can ask yourself, anytime you realize that you're continuing a habit that doesn't serve you anymore. Wait a minute. What is my gain here? What is my psychological, emotional gain, even though rationally it doesn't make any sense? So focus on the gain, and then we can reverse that. How we can reverse that? Well, we need to practice, as I said, self-compassion. We need to change our practice of self-care. We need to change the mindset from focusing on the negative to focusing also on the positive. We're not going to become happy, clappy, oblivious people when we drop perfectionism. No, but we are opening up our perspective so that we can see the negative, of course, but don't get stuck in that. We also see the positive. We also make ourselves feel safe within everything that goes beyond the plan, everything that goes wrong in our life. We feel still safe. We trust ourselves. We don't negotiate our self worth. And that's another level of deep safety that we will feel with ourselves. Start with finding the gain. That's my first step. Finding the gain, why you're still hooked on perfectionism, and then we take it from there. And when I say we take it from there, you know, the next step, there is a holistic plan for 90 days that I've put together in the course How to Stop Perfectionism and Start Living. It's a holistic plan because you start living the life you enjoy, connecting with your relationships, connecting with yourself, practicing your life every day, your work every day with joy instead of with a constant threat of burnout if you haven't gone through a burnout already, right? So have a look at it. That's the thing that you see here on the ticker. And let me know whether you need help in registering. It takes 90 days in order to get this masterclass completed. And then I guarantee you're not going to be the same person. Of course, the implementation will take more than 90 days, but we will try together because in this plan, there are 3 months of live coaching together with me, live group coaching together with me and other perfectionists. So I'm not going to let this slip through your fingers. We're going to be holding hands and going together there so that you can learn about perfectionism and how to change it. Let me know your comments. Let me know what do you gain. I would love to hear what do you gain from your perfectionism, and looking forward to taking the next step together with you. Thank you very much for being here. Take good care of yourself.